So there's a lot of material, guys. You can just go on Pinterest, look for photos of lilies that you can use as a reference photo. Or hey, if you've got some lilies in your garden, lucky you, then just pick some and draw them from life. Lots of examples, just print them off. If your drawing skills aren't up to much or you're a bit worried about drawing, remember, if you find a picture, just print it off on normal printer paper and trace it down. The whole fun of it is having fun with the watercolour paints. So I'm just adding a bit more detail into these petals. I think that will do for now. The joy with this. Hi Pat Lockwood, how are you? Good to have you along. You found me. Yeah, the joy with the ink is you can always add to it afterwards. So once you're finished doing your watercolour painting, if you want to, you can just draw some more ink in after the watercolour has dried. But do wait for the watercolour to have dried first. Okay, fine liner pen done. So I'm going into my leaves and I'm going to stick with the pink. I'm liking the pink today. I might need to squeeze a bit more paint out in a minute. So just like I did in the demo, in the little exercise earlier, just pick a leaf. Some of these I'm going to leave quite light and white. Shanita's watching. Hello Shanita, how's things in Rome? I hope you're staying safe over there. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this dark pink pigment. Now the petals on my lily, my reference photo, which I've actually lost. It's probably downstairs in the living room. So I'm working blind, guys, so bear with me. I'm just doing this from my head now today. That's a dangerous thing, isn't it? So I've taken that strong pink and now just clean water. And I'm bringing the clean water towards the wet paint and letting nature take its course, so to speak. I'm going to spread that along, spread it along to the tip of my lily leaf. There we go. What I'm really conscious of not having is any strong lines within the flowers. I want them to be soft and fluid. Now I'm going to drop a bit more stronger pigment down the bottom here. I'm going to tilt my paper a little and encourage the paint to flow towards the tip. I've gone over the line there. Let me just grab a bit of tissue. This happens. You could use your brush when this happens, but I've got a little leak at the top. It's very pale, so that's fine. That will lift out. Okay, now I'm not going to do the leaf next to it. I'm going to skip one and I'm going to come round to the next one. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I do not want this petal and this petal to bleed together. And if I start wetting this one, all the paint in there will come into that one. So leave a gap and come to the next one along. This is quite an awkward position for me. I've got this raised up high. I need a cushion. I need a booster cushion on my seat. Okay. Get some more of this pink. I'm definitely going to need to get a bit more pink in my palette. Really strong down this middle. Clean water. And again, bring the water up the petal. Now, if you're working in watercolour pencils, you would just be shading it in. So you would just be, for those using watercolour pencils, you would simply be shading your petal. You would make it very dark down the middle and down towards the centre of the flower, and then reduce the pressure on your pencil. You don't have to come right to the end, and in just the same way, similar way as we're doing with the paint, you would then wet your watercolour pencil in the dark space because you want to spread that, and then just spread the watercolour pencil along your petal. Come back with clean water and lighten it. See, so you can get the same effect with watercolour pencil as you can with the watercolours. Okay, Now this leaf here, while I've been chatting and ignoring it, has gone and bled there. It's because I can't really get over the top of my paper today, but never mind, I'll get a different seat for tomorrow. Okay, I quite like that. I'm going to move along. I'm going to skip a petal just like before. Skip one. I'm going to turn my board around, do this one. So you really want to work, just turn your board whatever's comfortable for you to work with. Right, I don't want so much pink on this one. I'm going to assume the light source is coming from here. I'm going to have a nice light petal because the light's hitting this petal from the other side. So I want this one nice and light. So my water, bring it down to the colour. Let it bleed. I'm deliberately leaving some areas dry, my paper dry. I don't want the ink to, excuse me, I don't want the paint to go in every centimetre of this petal. Like this one here, I've left the tips dry. I'm just going to go back into that because I do want it to the corners of that one. But this one, I'm quite happy to have some white patches showing through. And remember, if the colour's too strong, you can go in with your brush, damp brush, and lift out if you want to reduce the colour. You'll never get your paper back to white, but you'll get somewhere close. Isn't this looking pretty already? Can I have some thumbs up? Is anyone loving the lilies? Or not? Maybe you're not loving the lilies. Okay, so I'm going to carry on going. Now these two leaves are dry, I can come in to this one in between them without fear of it bleeding. And again, absolutely the same thing on each of these. I'm just going to speed up a bit now, guys. Take your time when you're doing it. Don't rush it. I just want to get this done, then I can show you some other areas. And just bring that dark pink. It's a pretty colour. I love lilies. Yay, we've got some thumbs up. Any hearts? You love it, just liking it. I need the love today, guys. I need the love. I've got some dramas going on, which I won't bore you with, but I'm painting. They look fab. Becky, good. Good, Becky. I'm glad you're painting. It's really quite easy. The whole thing is your water control to get this effect, to get this lovely light effect. Now, I have a petal on the back here, around the back of these stamens. I should have done this one first now, thinking it in hindsight. And I don't want to, I want some green coming up the stamens as well. So I need to be very careful here. I'm going to take my brush quite dry. I don't want to touch into the wet paint. Just balancing my hand on my finger. Coming up the side of this stamen. The stamens need to stay dry. Don't get any paint or water on those stamens as they come up. It's fiddly. Just take your time. I said the other day about compositions, if anyone's interested. Replying to Emily. It's good when you've got friends together and you're meeting up on here live while I'm doing this. It's lovely to see. Could I make a printable image so you can trace? Well, yeah, and generally I do have something on there that you could print off. You could have downloaded, was this image on there? Oh no, the trouble is with that, Sue, is today I made this up this morning. So, yeah, I was a bit pushed yesterday, so I found somebody else's image and posted. I was cheating, so I could get something up for you guys. But yeah, wherever possible, I will do that for you, so you can print it off and trace. There we go. So I'm just bringing that water into the tip here, a little bit more colour. Very careful not to get the stamens wet. There we go. Isn't it beautiful. You're going to try, Gay. Don't be scared. Just go slowly. Take your time. Okay. Now these two bottom petals are dry, so I'm quite happy to go in and bring in my my stalk. I'm just using the green that came in my set, but you could mix your own greens. In fact, using your blues and yellows, just spend some time mixing colours, guys, seeing how many different greens you can make out of the blues and yellows that you've got. You'll be amazed how far you can go with that. So I'm just going to bring this green. Now my petals are dry, so there's not going to be any bleeding. And I said the light source was coming from the left. So I'm using my tip of my brush just to control the amount of green I've put down and lift out a lighter side to this little bud that joins a flower. And then down the stalk, you don't have to be too worried. You could just paint the whole stalk green. I'm going to come down the right hand side. And then actually, I've just decided this, I'm going to bring some yellow in the left hand side. Very carefully, use a small brush, or if you've got a good watercolour brush, you'll just be able to use the tip to get that nice thin line. And then I'm going to go into my leaves. Now these leaves are folded over each other, so I'm going to have a darker area under here. I don't want to go next to that stalk though. I just went to do it and I realised I mustn't. So it's easily done, mistakes are easily made. I'm coming into this flower and I want this part of the flower, the petal, the leaf, sorry, with some yellow, because I want it to be catching the light, so I want a light bit. And then I'm going to take my green and bring it along the edge. It touches the yellow, you can see it bleeding in. You can see that happening there on the paper, where the yellow and the green are bleeding together. And just take my green down the other side. Are you liking this tutorial? You're able to follow along? It's not too quick for you today. Okay. I'm just checking that my stem is dry, and it seems to be. So I'm taking a stronger mix of my green, the underside of this leaf, as it's curled over on itself. Just tap that in. Now that's not quite dark enough for me. I want that to be darker. Now there's a couple of ways you can darken your green. Teresa shared on my page while you're live. Hope people click on because they will see you're awesome. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Thanks so much. So your page up in Scotland, I believe, Teresa. You're based up in Scotland. What's the name of your page again? Art something. It's gone out of my head. Remind me if you would. Now for your green, if you want to darken it, you could just add some more blue to it, or I'm going to take some crimson red. Green and red, putting red into the green will really darken it. It's taking it towards a brown, and I'm using the crimson red. So if I just bring my little palette out so you can see this crimson red, which is a pinky red, and dropping it into that green, and it will darken that down, so I've got a shadow area. If you find the red's too much, just go in over the top with a bit more green, just change that colour up. But you can do this there and then on the paper, or you could mix them in your well. You could take your red, some green, mix it in the lid, more green, and you'll get this really earthy dark green. There we go. See how dark that is? Now I'm put that down so you get this shadow under that leaf, so it makes it make sense. Okay, I'm going to come on to the stamens now, because this leaf should be dry. It is. Shall I keep my paints up here, guys? Is that better for you? You love it, Michelle. You certainly should have a go. Okay, the stamens are very bright, aren't they, on lilies? Those flower experts amongst you will know better than me. I'm going to use a bright yellow that I have in my pan set, and I'm going to bring that into the stamens. This dreaded yellow dust that once your lilies start dying, drop on your window and you can't get your white tiles clean again. Okay, so I've taken that yellow in there. I'm actually going to add a bit of yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is the mustard yellow. And I'm going to drop some mustard yellow in. There we go. Just a reminder, guys, if you haven't heard me the other day, I am setting up, or I have set up, a YouTube channel, and I'm busy posting all these Facebook Live demos on there. So if you want to play them back, and this one will be loaded up later this evening or this afternoon, you can find them a lot easier than you can searching through on Facebook. Teresa, just outside Aberdeen. It's Apart, that's it, Apart Art, but working on website and changing to my own name. Yeah, I did that, Teresa. I'm known, or I have a business name called Blue Graphite, which I thought was really clever at the time. The word blue graphite came from blue, from my Labrador that I had at the time, and graphite because I love pencil. But actually, working as an artist, you're best just to use your name. So it's still there in the background, but I hardly use it now. So good planning. Okay, so I now need to come up the stamens. I've deliberately chatted on and left the stamens a little while. So I've got yellow ochre and my bright cadmium yellow coming in the stamens. I'll just add a little bit more because they're a little bit blotchy. Okay, and I'm actually going to add a little bit of brown as well. As I say, I haven't got a reference photo in front of me, so I am just making it up, just a tiny bit of brown in there. And then, you know what I love about doing this? I can reach such a wide audience. You know, when I'm teaching locally, I love my students, and a lot of you are watching today. I love you all. But actually this allows me, I've had people, Shanita's on from Rome, I've had Switzerland, I've had Australia. It's amazing. Okay, so now I want to come up my stamens. I've just waffled on a bit just to let them dry. I'm just going to bring dry brush. It's very tip of my brush. A good watercolour brush should come to a point, guys. Should have a nice point at the end. If you're very careful, just gently, delicately take your brush along that stamen. There we go. Up that one, and there's another little one in the back here. One lily. What do you think? Do you like it? I think looking on the screen, it looks brighter in real life than it does on the screen. I'm going to add a bit more green down the stem. And actually this reddy green that I mixed up in my palette, I'm going to add a bit to that bud pod as well. And then right in the middle of my flower, I want it darker. Oops, wrong pink. So I'm just going to drop another, this is like glazing. It's called glazing, where you allow one colour to go on top of another, but the colour underneath needs to be dry first. So that would just permeate through like we saw when I did the petals. Tin wet paint over the dry. I will just pull those edges out because I don't want a hard line, but just dropped a more intense colour in the centre of these petals. And then I'm going to do what I said earlier and bring in those little spots. But I need to wet the petals first. So I'm just going to re-wet this area of my petal. Clean water. Not too much, just a little. And then I'm going to take a very strong purple. And again, just using the tip of my brush. Just dotting in these little patterns, these little flecks of colour into the pink there. I'm not sure how far they come out, but yeah, so again, I'll just go all the way round, re-wetting the petal, clean water, strong colour, whichever colour you want your flecks to be. Drop them in, let them soften, and take them a bit further up the pink. Go back in there. Can you see that? Very pretty, very simple. It's just knowing what to do and when to do it, really. I'm just going to dampen all these in that area. I want it to start drying back. I don't want it too wet when I put this purple on. This first one's bled out quite a lot, so just let it dry back for a few seconds even. Take those dots up the leaves. You don't have to have them, not all lilies have them. Just the tip of your brush. Go to a smaller brush if you're more comfortable. You could even use your watercolour pencil to do this bit. Whatever you've got, guys. Okay, are you liking it? And this one at the back, mustn't forget that one. In between those stamen. One lily flower. I'm not going to ever stop doing live in-person lessons. No, I'll never stop, Gay. Do not worry. I'm aiming for world domination, Mark. I've got some news for you. I might message you later about world domination and where we're going. But yeah, watch this space. Anyway, yes, Gay, I will be doing live lessons because I just absolutely adore doing my live lessons and meeting you all in person rather than in this virtual world. But equally so pleased to reach such a new audience and for them to enjoy what I'm doing. I was going to tell you something else, guys, before I move on to I mentioned that I've got a new order of stock come in. I've ordered these beautiful tins of watercolour from Artway. They come in a little metal tin. There's a ring pull on the back that you can put your, so if you're out and about you can put them on the back of your hand so you can hold them on a little ring. It opens up into this lovely little 14. Normally you get 12, so this one that I'm using today has 12. They're half pan paint. I haven't got the list of colours in front of me, but they are loose. So if you use one up, you can just buy one. Okay. And they come with a tiny little brush, so if you're out plein air painting, you've got a little mixing palette built in. They're super cute. I managed to get them from my wholesaler, so if you're interested, they are now live and online for you to buy. You'll see them on Amazon at $12.99. I've got them at $12.50. I've managed just to beat Amazon. So you've got those. So I'm trying to keep you supplied, guys, and products that I know are good. Okay, Artway I've been using in my classes for 2 years. They're good quality paints. Whoops. So I mentioned the marker pen earlier, but I've also managed to get hold of the watercolour paper that I love to use, this thick